Have you ever been thirsty? I'm not talking about thirsty like I really could go for a Coke right now. A glass of iced tea sounds so good. I just need a little sip of water to quench my thirst. I mean an actual deep thirst within you where you felt like you might die if you could not get a drink. I remember I had one of these moments years ago when we'd first moved to Colorado. We decided to be crazy and take up running. And running is not one of my favorite things. I know some people love to run. They get these runner's highs. They feel so good about themselves. But for me, every step that I took as I ran was exhausting and excruciating and so horrible that all I was dreaming about was being able to sit on my couch and do nothing. So we decided that we were going to start training for races to maybe help get us motivated. And the first races that we started were like 5Ks. So 3 miles, not super tough. I mean, they weren't enjoyable for me, but I thought, okay, I can do this. And then we decided to do the Boulder, which many of you know is a little bit longer. It's a 10K, so it's a little over 6 miles. Again, not super horrible, but also not the greatest. And then we got the wild notion in our heads that we were going to do a half marathon, 13.1 miles. And so we began to train. And the training really hit a peak in the middle of summer. So we'd get up super early to go on these long runs, 10, 12-mile runs to prepare us for running 13.1 miles. And it was on one of these particular runs that I remember this deep sense of thirst, this deep longing. It wasn't just a Coke is going to satisfy me. It is, I need water or I might die. That is what I started to feel inside of me. With each step that I took, I was about a mile from home and all I could think about was water. I desperately need water. The heat, the exhaustion of running, it had caught up to me and I was parched. So much so that I was running by this puddle of water that had been left from the sprinklers running. And I actually had a moment, a crazy moment where I thought about bending down and sipping from that nasty pool of water just to quench that thirst that I had. Have you ever had a similar experience? Maybe it isn't as dramatic as mine is, but have you ever been so thirsty that you just needed that thirst to be quenched? On Sunday, we met the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman who is out in the noonday heat, avoiding the rest of her community and getting water. And it is in this moment that Jesus comes and meets her right where she is. Jesus comes and speaks into her life. Jesus comes and sees her and says, I know you, and I am here to provide for you. Do you have a thirst that is deep inside of you that's not just a thirst, a physical thirst, but a longing that you have? A longing to be known, a longing to be seen? Community is so important for us. I'm here in my house where just 2 years ago, this became my office, right? As COVID shut everything down, all of a sudden this became my central location, my office, the space in which not only I worked, but also I lived. This was me. And I put up Flat Jesus because if you remember, Noel had us taking Flat Jesus around to kind of connect us in community. But I haven't taken down Jesus, because Jesus reminds me every time I look at this window that Jesus was there for me in the midst of one of the most isolating moments that I have ever experienced. And I know it was an isolating experience for you as well, because we all missed that community. We all missed gathering together with friends, with family, with people who knew us and loved us, at least the us that we let them see. And so I left Jesus up there to remind me that even in that time in which we were so far apart and so isolated, Jesus was still here with me. Jesus was in this space. I couldn't escape Jesus at all. And in fact, I wouldn't want to. You see, there's a lot of times that we wear these masks, right? There is a mask that we all wear in front of other people. We don't really let people see our full selves. We let them see just a glimpse of who we are, our personality, the things that we love. But there are things too that we hide deep inside. You know, those fears of, if they knew this, they might not like me. One of those things that I struggle with is this deep sense of social awkwardness, right? And so I put on a really brave face and a huge smile, but inside I am super introverted and it is hard for me to talk to people. The masks that we wear. What is your mask that you put on? What are the things that you hide deep inside of you? What are those things that you are afraid of that if somebody knew it about you, if somebody knew that piece of your personality, if somebody knew what you had done, that maybe they wouldn't like you? Maybe they wouldn't accept you. Maybe they wouldn't love you. And so you only show this little part of who you are to the outside world, but everything else you kind of keep inside. You keep it tucked away, far from the view of other people, far from those who might judge you. That woman, that Samaritan woman, she was hiding from her community who had shunned her, or maybe who were going to shun her, or maybe who she had a fear that were going to shun her. And she was afraid to let them see her full self. But she also had a deep thirst, a deep longing to be known, to be seen, to be accepted and embraced for who she was. And Jesus shows up. Jesus shows up and breaks down those barriers, breaks down those walls that kept them from being in contact with one another, with talking with one another. He broke the rules that she was accustomed to, that he was accustomed to in their societies. And in that moment, as he was vulnerable, as he broke those rules and those barriers, he then says to her, I see you. I know you. I see the you that you hide deep inside. I see the you that you don't want anyone else to see. I see you, and guess what? I love you. I love you. Having Jesus speak into her life was a moment that not only quenched her physical need for that companionship, that community, but also quenched this deep spiritual need, this need to be known and loved for exactly who she was. And it's the same for us. What are you thirsty for? What are you thirsty for? That you keep trying to fill that thirst, that deep longing, but nothing seems to be able to quench that deep thirst. Do you surround yourself with a lot of people, a lot of friends, but you really have that deep need inside of you to be known and to be loved, to be seen, to truly be heard? Jesus is there. Or maybe you are afraid of what you have done, as Barb called it, the it, right? That one thing, that it. If only people knew it, they would think something completely different about you. Are you thirsty? Are you thirsty and needing that fear to be quenched, to be put away completely? Are you thirsty for peace? What are you thirsty for? Maybe you're thirsty for some joy, for some hope, because everything seems to be crumbling around you and the burdens are heavy and you just don't know if you can go on anymore. Jesus is there to speak into your life, to bring you hope, to bring you peace, to bring you joy. Jesus says these words in Matthew chapter 11. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. My friends, it's time to stop running. It's time to stop running away from God, from the truth, from those fears that hold us back. It is time for us to stop running and to take that yoke that Jesus offers us, that love and that grace that is there for each of us, to come and to lay all of our burdens, our worries, our weary souls at Jesus's feet, because Jesus is ready to meet us at the well, to meet us and to quench our thirst and to give us rest. But in order for that to happen, we have to be honest. We have to say yes to that invitation that Jesus offers us, that yes to let him come inside and to see us exactly who we are and love us for exactly who we are. And when our thirst is quenched, when we know that Jesus will never leave us, when we realize that Jesus is there for us and sees us and knows us and loves us anyway, then we can't help but be like that Samaritan woman and run and tell other people, come and meet Jesus. Come and meet this God who loves you no matter what, who will take your burdens upon himself and carry them, who will quench your deep thirst and give you rest. Come and meet Jesus at the well. My friends, I pray that in this week that you would take some time to meet Jesus at the well, to tell Jesus where you are thirsty, the ways in which you are afraid, the ways in which you hide your true self, and that you will let Jesus speak into your life and say, I see you, I know you, and I love you. My grace is sufficient for you. So come to the well and let your thirst be quenched.